With that, I would like to thank Ambassador Fabian for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for the next discussion as well. Now, moving to U.S., the U.S. Department of Justice has sent a letter to lawmakers regarding the redactions in the file pertaining the convicted late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. According to reports, the letter, required by law, includes a general description of the types of redactions made and a list of notable people mentioned in the files in any way. The letter also includes an extensive list of high-profile people or politically exposed persons referenced in the files even if they had no interactions with Epstein or his long-term associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The letter, sent to the leaders of the Senate and House Judiciary Committees, does not state in what context a name appears. Now we welcome back former Ambassador KP Fabian. He's a former ambassador, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for staying with us. Now, as you know, in our last discussion, you just quoted the 2,400 years ago, the strong do what they want. Now, how is this Jeffrey Epstein case exposing all that in terms of political elites, the double standards, the blind eye that, they get by doing all these things that that is still coming out from these Epstein files?
Well, the survivor victims have put out a statement saying that the true, those who committed the atrocities, they are still protected and almost unnamed. Now, the Justice Department, as you mentioned, has written that letter, but it has also explained separately that it did not come under any pressure from the White House as how to go about the task of redaction. But my view is that, of course, I could be wrong. My view is that the redaction has been done primarily to save President Trump. And till now, they have got away with it because, as you know, in other countries, in Europe, in UK, Lord Mandelson had to resign, and UK, the former Prince Andrew is in trouble. And in Norway, some former prime minister had to resign and all that. Elsewhere, in France also, and also in Belgium. So all that is happening across the Atlantic. But in the United States, nothing is happening because, let me put it this way, those European democracies are more responsive to such public acknowledgement of such outrageous behavior. Whereas in the United States, President Trump has a much thicker skin and he has strong support too. His supporters, MAGA and others, though some of them are worried, but mostly the Republicans still support him. And as of now, he can get away with it. But once again, it is my guess that we do not know whether he can get away with it forever. You can fool some people for some time, you can fool all people for some time, but you cannot fool all people for all time, said by one of President Trump's distinguished predecessors, Abraham Lincoln.
Thank you for highlighting that. And Ambassador, also, because also of Jeffrey Epstein case, and also not just that, but many other reasons, we know that President Trump is losing his popularity or support, as the polls show through media reports. So how do you think this crackdown on not on Jeffrey Epstein case, yes, so the lack of transparency which Jeffrey Epstein case has exposed, right? Do you think this is enough, this attitude from Trump administration is enough for him to gain back the voters that he's been losing? What do you think would be the strategy for him to gain back some trust or the support as the midterm elections are upcoming in November?
Well, let me put it this way. There is a hardcore support system base for President Trump. that hardcore will always remain with him. But to win, he needs to have not only the hardcore, but also others. Now, as regards others, I'm afraid his support, and I'm glad, his support is weakening, and it is possible that in November this year, he will meet his Waterloo to recall what happened to Napoleon.
Right. And as Ghislaine Maxwell, she denied to testify in when she was called last week. So how do you think that, how could this move be affecting the broader credibility and perceived impartiality of Congress investigation into the Jeffrey Epstein files?
But she is right legally, because under the US Constitution, you do not have to say anything which might incriminate yourself. But she is morally wrong, and I hold she is morally bankrupt. It would have been better for her to admit to what she has done and seek pardon.
Right.
That would have been more honorable.
Yes, indeed. And also, what are the broader political implications if members of Congress are seen as lacking the authority to enforce disclosure laws in the Justice Department?
Well, let me put it this way. Every democracy is supposed to be self-correcting. As you know, Montesquieu's famous separation of powers, executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, each has its own area. And if the executive overreaches, then it is for the judiciary and the legislative to rein in the executive. Now, in the case of the United States, well, some action is being taken. As you know, there is a Congress move telling Trump that he cannot impose tariffs on Canada. It is not complete because it has to go to Senate and all that. So there is some move. But basically, I would say that at this point, America, the oldest democracy in the modern world, has proved that it is incapable of self-correction.
Yes, so as you rightfully mentioned, this is the oldest democracy, and now we see the lack of accountability among many figures, and especially the fact that the crime is so heinous, like prostitution of children. So how do you think this is weighing down on this overall image of even US democracy and the legitimacy that as foreigners we had about US and its image?
Well, America's reputation as a democracy is falling, and falling, at an accelerated speed under President Trump. Now, that is unfortunate because, we all need democracy. Meaning, we want to see democracy prevail everywhere. Only thing is that we in India, we do not claim to export democracy. But it is our hope, it is our plea that democracy should spread, and that nominally democratic countries like the United States should be genuinely democratic. But then again, we do not wish to preach to America. President Trump is a very, difficult person to handle. So we should be diplomatic, and officially we should not make any statements. But we in the media are free, and we are entitled to, and it is our duty to speak out.
Thank you very much with that.